Hi friends, welcome to the Plain Fun RC channel. I'm your host, Saul, and we are continuing the build of the AMTN Burt Rutan Beechcraft Starship, and we're starting our covering. We're going to start off with the winglets, and we're going to go with a nice burgundy on the winglets. I'm thinking about burgundy, white, and gray overall. I think that'll be a nice touch. I know the whole plane was, the full size was just all white, but I want to give it a little something that'll make it pop a little bit, maybe something a little different. Sort of what-if scheme. Had they still been manufacturing the aircraft, I'm sure at this point they would have had some very creative, colorful schemes for the airplane. So let's get started with our covering. More to come. All right, friends, our winglets are covered. We've got a little burgundy here on the main color with a little sort of silverish gray, and then the black, much like the full-scale black boot, if you will, on the leading edge. All right, we're going to move on to the wings, and more to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update, we're going to go ahead and start up on the right wing, and we're just going to do the wing in all white, and we'll add some gray accents as well. So let's get started. All right, friends, as we're covering our wings, I want to pass along a helpful tip to you. So you'll notice this fence that's here, and when you have a fence on a wing, it can be difficult to get the covering to butt up against the fence without there being any gaps. So a very simple, easy way to get a good finish is to take a 1/2-inch piece of the coloring that's going to cover the main portion of the wing, fold it in half, tuck it into to where the fence meets the wing, and then seal it. And then what happens when you go through and you put your covering on, you can see there's no gaps. Now you can see the covering showing through a little bit, especially if you're using a lighter color, but it looks great. All right, friends, more to come. All right, friends, both wings are done, and they just look fantastic. Really, really good. Very happy with it. Went ahead and did the fence in gray, as you can see, sort of a silver gray, and it looks great. And then we'll get the winglets on, and that'll add a really nice touch. All right, we're going to go ahead and shift our focus now to getting the fuselage covered. That's going to be quite a challenge because it's got a lot of curves, probably the most curves I've ever covered, and always tricky, but we'll definitely get it done. More to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update, we are getting ready to go ahead and cover the bottom of the airplane. You can see we've got our landing gear removed. Any final sanding that needs to take place, go ahead and do that now. And of course, fill in any low spots as well. One other thing I want to mention to you as well is up in the front nose gear area, you'll notice we cut a little notch there in that former, and we need that notch there to clear the steering arm. So when the wheel turns left, the steering arm is not blocked by the firewall. So just a friendly tip on that. All right, friends, let's go ahead, vacuum our plane thoroughly so we can get all those little pieces of dust up so we can make sure we have a good adhesion of the covering to the plane, and more to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update, we've started covering the elevators. We're just going to use the same wonderful burgundy, if you will, and more to come. All right, friends, the elevators are done. We did them in a monocoat of a metallic red, and they just look fantastic. All right, let's shift our focus to the fuselage. More to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update with the covering, let's talk about what we've got going on here. So you can see we've got some trim pieces that we've put in place here along the canard, along the cockpit, and then along the wing, the engine pod, and the little piece right there that holds the cowling in place. So let me explain why we do this. First of all, you're going to take a piece that's about a 1/2 inch wide and go ahead and fold it lengthwise all the way down and then tuck it in. What this does, this allows for a better finish. So when you're putting on the large sheets of covering, get a nice close fit, even if it's not perfect because of the curvature of the fuselage going this way and the curvature of say for example a flying surface maybe going like that. It allows for a much better finish, even almost seamless if it's done correctly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start covering the bottom of the fuselage, and more to come. All right, folks, the photos you just saw were the nose gear hatch. They were provided to me by the manufacturer. The reason why we have to build a nose gear hatch is because this plane was not designed at all for nose gear doors, which is a real disappointment. I did let the manufacturer know that they really need to consider redesigning it so it will accommodate nose gear doors. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to build it out of two 1/4 inch pieces of scrap balsa. The reason why we're having to build it ourselves is because the builder does not include any pieces at all for the hatch. I did also mention to the builder that since this plane is not going to use doors, they need to include all the parts for the nose gear hatch, and they're definitely going to take that under consideration. Anyway, with that, we're going to need two pieces, one here, and then you can see a line right here. That's where the second piece is going to go. It's going to go just slightly behind the nose gear wheel. Anyway, let's go ahead, build our hatch, and more to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update here, you can see we're creating the hatch. Let's talk about what we've got going on here. So we're going to have 3 stringers. They're going to make up the hatch. 1, 2, 3. This block sits just a little bit behind the retractable gear. And we've gone ahead, we've put in some 1/8 inch dowels here and here that go through this portion of the former for the hatch and go into the former that's here directly behind the hatch here. So that'll help hold that in place. Then what we'll do is we'll wind up putting some blocks here and then here directly underneath these stringers, so that way we can go ahead and use some screws to hold it in place. So let's go ahead and get these glued, and more to come. All right, friends, as we continue update, you can see our hatch is complete and worked really well. We used a 2mm sheeting. You could use 1/8 inch, and that's fine. And I just want to make sure you have adequate clearance, not only for the wheel, but for the other parts of the retract. As a matter of fact, if I come over top, you can see, let's go this way instead. You can see right here, you do have your steering arm. Make sure you have adequate clearance there for the steering arm itself. And also make sure you have adequate clearance as well for the actual push rod / steering arm down there. There's one that's sitting right down inside right there that the servo attaches to, so that's important. And of course, don't forget to have adequate clearance as well for your wheel collar here, as just something to keep in mind. So with that, let me show you how great she works. Perfect clearance. All right, friends, just very quickly, I want to show you what we did with the hatch. Obviously, you saw that we put the sheeting on, but I want to flip it over real quick. It's just something to keep in mind. When you're building the hatch, obviously, you've got your 3 stringer pieces, but in the front, you can see we also added 1/4 inch balsa to help provide additional support to the sheeting itself, and that worked out really well. So just something to keep in mind. Now, initially, I had put on 2 dowels back here that were going to be inserted into this former back here. But the issue is that's not going to work because the servo is going to be sitting back in this area. And the plan was to go through and to take the hatch, drop it in like so, and then slide it back so that the dowels would insert. Well, that's not going to work because the servo would be in the way. So we took off the dowels, and I think the best thing that I can think of is probably I'm actually going to wind up screwing this hatch in place from the top part of the cockpit, where we'll have 2 screws that will actually come down into the balsa here, and I'll harden the balsa with some CA. And then, of course, we'll still have our 2 hard points here and here, so we can go ahead and attach the front of the hatch. So I think that's going to work best. All right, friends, more to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update, you're looking at the steering servo that's been installed. It is the high-tech HS5087MH high torque, high voltage servo. It puts out almost 60 ounces of torque, which is fantastic for such a small servo. It also includes these little side mount pieces here, which just snap right onto the servo and makes mounting the servo on its side very easy. Now, we place the servo between the formers. These lines represent the position of the formers that make up the hatch, and you can see the formers that I'm referring to here that are on the hatch. The thing you need to keep in mind is when you go and you're going to mount your push rod, make sure your landing gear is fully extended. And the reason for that is because if you look right there, you'll see your steering arm that connects to the actual landing gear. Notice how it slides up and down. What that does is as the landing gear retracts, this slides, and that helps to prevent any pressure being exerted along the push rod back to the servo itself. So do keep that in mind. One thing we also did too, you can see our hard points here that we put in that they are used to mount the actual hatch in place. So the only thing we have to do is just drill a couple holes here so we can then go ahead and put some screws in one of the formers to help hold the hatch in place. And that's about it. All right, friends. All right, friends, as we continue update, you can see we've got our bottom half of our canards covered. More to come. All right, both of the bottom half of the wings are covered. Now on to the fuselage. More to come. All right, friends, as we continue our update, you can see we have our bottom right side covered. Now, quick tip for you, because this fuselage has so many curves. It's got curves going this way. It's got curves going this way. It's even got curves in some spots going this way. Because this has so many curves, if you try to cover the bottom with one whole piece, you're going to end up with a lot of wrinkles. So it works better if you just do half of the bottom and then do the other half of the bottom, then do the sides, then go ahead and do the top. That will work best. Now, when we get to the top, we're going to use the same technique where we're going to cover half the top on one side and half on the other. And once again, the same reason, because you've got those curvatures where it's going back like this and back in here. Notice that steep curvature going up like that. That's something to keep in mind. That can cause quite a few wrinkles as well. So just something to keep in mind. All right, friends. More to come. All right, friends. The bottom is done. So time to flip this pancake and do the top side. More to come. All right, friends, we've covered the top of the canards, so the canards are fully covered. Now we're working on the front section. So one little tip, you want to go ahead and do half and half, just like we did on the bottom. Makes it a lot easier because of all the curves that are here. All right, friends, more to come. All right, friends, we got the front nose of the aircraft covered, and we've got the canards covered, and let's go ahead and focus on the rest of the plane. More to come. All right, friends, the top right part of the fuselage is covered. Now let's focus on the top left. More to come. All right, friends, we're working on the left wing, and I want to pass along some helpful tips because this is a rather complicated covering job, and I'll explain. So you've got two things in the way. You've got your engine pod, and you've got your cowling hold down right here. So the easiest way to do it is cut a rather large piece, bigger than the wing, and then lay it on top. Give just a center cut along the covering directly over top of the engine pod. Give yourself a little, and also the same thing directly over top of the cowling hold down. Give yourself a little extra inboard towards the fuselage because we're going to use our little trick that I mentioned previously in the video where we take our little screwdriver or a pen or something, and right where the wing meets the fuselage, you just run it right along this little groove right here, and that's where you're going to make your cut. Now, when you're covering, take your time. Start from the front. Don't do large sections, small sections, gradually moving along. Now, the outboard portion of the wing, yes, you can do larger sections. Keep in mind, this area in here, remember, the wing curves out a little bit this way, so don't try to seal this up, otherwise you'll get a lot of wrinkles. We're going to hit this with a heat gun, and that'll tighten it up and give a nice finish in just a little bit. All right, friends, more to come. All right, friends, the left wing is done, and she just looks fantastic. Really good. Very happy with it. No complaints whatsoever. All right, let's shift our focus to the right wing. More to come. All right, friends, as you can see, the right wing is done, and basically we are done covering, which is just great. And she just looks fantastic. Really happy with her. All right, we're going to go ahead and put the windows on and some stripes and a couple other things, and more to come. All right, friends, as you can see, we are done covering, and she just looks fantastic. A couple little things I want to point out to you that we did to enhance the appearance. We added the mock ice boots, which is just silver ultra coat covering. We also went ahead and added the windows. The windows are included in the kit, and they come pre-cut. And we just added some silver striping just for a little enhancement. Now, we also have our templates on our windshield here, and we're going to use those templates when we go to paint the front windshield, which we'll have in a future video. But anyway, as you can see, she just looks absolutely fantastic. Let me do a little quiet walk around for you. All right, friends, more to come. All right, friends, just a quick tip for you. They include a pattern in the kit for the actual windshield itself. Now, you're going to want to take that pattern and blow it up to 141%. So the initial copy you're going to make is going to include the two front main windshields, and the other copy at 141% is going to be the side windshield here and the side windshield on the exact opposite side here, as you can see. Then you're going to want to tape the side window to the main front windshield on both sides. And you can see once it's on there, it fits really well and it gives a nice proper pattern. What makes this plane a little different is you can see the side windshield sits lower than the main windshield, which is fine. So just keep that in mind. All right, friends, more to come.